Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/marku42. There are over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. You lucky guys. And now, here's the show.
Hi, I'm Daphne Ashbrook, and you are listening to Mark-Who 42.
Mark-Who 42 Universe.
Welcome to Mark-Who 42's Universe, Doctor Who Universe, that is. I'm your host, Mark-Baumgarten, and with me, as always, are...
Patricia-helm.
And I am the tiger that burns bright in the night, in the forests of the night.
Oh, no. I still don't know who you are.
Eduardo-m-Freyre.
Ah, that's who
Jeez, I put in some Percy Shelley, and that's how you react? Oh, no, wait, Percy Shelley's Ozymandias.
Yeah, see, you got it wrong there. Connects.
Or actually, did he do Tiger as well? No, you know what? Let me get on Wikipedia. The point is, I'm bringing some culture in here.
We have someone else here, too.
Yeah, it's more like he's Tiger Blood from Charlie Sheen's Cabinet. This is Christian-basel, and they're great!
Oh boy, we got a great show. And now, this week, we're going to have our double review show of Flatline and In the Night of the Forest. But first...
Now who got it wrong?
In the Forest of the Night. But first...
But first, we go to Doctor Who News with our Doctor Who correspondent, Patricia-helm. Patricia, are you going to get everything right, or are you going to get something wrong as well? Probably not, because you're better than both of us.
Well, that's true, but I do get things wrong occasionally. I'm not perfect.
By the way, the poem The Tiger was William Blake.
Flatline of the Forest.
All right. Well, we got the figures in on the ratings for Mummy on the Orient Express. Their final figure was 7.1 million, which is actually up from the previous episode. And then Flatline fell back a little bit. They went down to 6.7 million.
Fell flat.
And in the Forest of the Night, their overnight figures are a little bit higher than Flatline was, so they grew a little bit.
Like a mighty tree in the forest.
Yes.
See, I can do it too.
Yeah, but not as well.
Well, Doctor Who has been nominated for 2 National Television Awards in the UK. They're on the long list right now for Best Drama, and then actually Peter-Capaldi and Jenna-Coleman are both nominated for Best Drama Performance. And they're up against some other people, mainly David Tennant and Benedict Cumberbatch, so they're in some pretty good competition. So the long list gets narrowed down to a short list in January, and then the final voting takes place, and then the award ceremony is on the 21st of January.
What is David Tennant up for?
Probably Broadchurch.
Oh, God.
I didn't say.
Oh, God. Oh, crud. Oh, yeah. Lord.
You can see Stephen Moffat in the background going, I've got this. I've got my actors lined up there. I've got it.
Yeah.
Hey, Ken.
Now, An Adventure in Space and Time has been nominated for an International Emmy Award.
Woo.
And the winner of that will be announced at the end of November. So that's pretty cool, too, considering it's been out for so long, but it's great.
Yeah, like almost a year.
Time flies. It seemed like it took forever for the 50th to get here, and now it's been almost a year.
It's almost the 51st anniversary of Doctor Who, guys.
Is the Tomb of the Cybermen and Castrovalva about to win an award for something just years later? They're just catching up.
No, I think it's Planet of the Spiders that's getting an award.
Castrovalva for best use of recursive occlusion in Doctor Who.
William Hartnell against Peter Capaldi, right? Yeah. Just catching up now.
No.
So what if Hartnell wins the award, his ghost will come up and go, so, you're my rivals, dandies and clowns.
I'm in the Richard Burnville camp right now. So
I'd like
to
thank the Academy. Yes, that's about time. Come along, Susan.
Oh, no.
I'm going to break in here right now. So
It's going to break something.
That time we go to the next story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they released information on what the special features are going to be on the Series 8 DVD Blu-ray release.
That's right, because that comes out in like 2 weeks.
It's going to be 5 discs. It's going to have all of the episodes, including Deep Breath, which for some reason I thought that wasn't going to be on there since they released it on its own, but It is. And then it's going to have all those ultimate specials that were hosted by
Yay.
Peter Davidson. The Ultimate Time Lord, The Ultimate Companion, and Earth Conquest. And then there's going to be 4 exclusive audio commentaries.
Commentaries, woohoo! Maybe they can hire us.
They made me sign a confidentiality thing. It was, they had a Dalek with a laser gun pointing at my head, going, "Sign it,
okay.
sign it.
Gotcha.
Do not speak. Do not speak. We
So-
will be searching the Twitter."
That's right, Mark. When I'm not in the room with you, you notice that Batman's around. I'm just letting you know. Because I'm Batman.
It's also going to have all the Doctor Who extras, the little 10-minute behind-the-scenes features. And it's going to have the Deep Breath Cinema panel. It's a 30-minute feature that was recorded in London. It's a panel with Peter Capaldi, Jenna-Coleman, and Stephen Moffat. So that might be interesting.
It definitely sounds like I have another Blu-ray set to buy. More money spent out of the old pocket.
No, you didn't buy Deep Breath single, did you? No, didn't fall for that.
No, I didn't buy Deep Breath. But I missed out on stuff, obviously, because there are some extras on that aren't being included on this set.
Has anybody noticed that there's no sign of minisodes at all? Like nothing? I mean, unless it's something where you actually buy the Blu-ray and it's like, oh, did we mention minisodes? No? Guess what? They're on here. But, I don't see anything. And, there are a couple of ideas you could throw out there. I mean, I know that there's one thing that I've really been wanting. And, so far, no sign of it at all.
Yeah, well, Moffat was lying again. I don't know.
Actually, they added an Easter egg where 20 minutes of Clara just berating the 12th Doctor through Series 8 the whole time. If anybody cares to watch it.
The berate reel.
Yeah, and now I'm not spending my money. I'm not spending my money on the Blu-ray set. Thank you very much, Christian. You just made it possible for me to save some money.
You don't have to watch it.
I have to pay for my anti-Clarin pills. I can't buy both.
Yeah, no, see,
Just
see,
leave it in the
that.
corner.
Well, Christian's probably tricking you, Mark, because what he's going to do is he's going to make people, all the anti-Clara fans not buy the Blu-ray, so then he'll buy them all up, and then he'll overcharge on eBay.
Yeah, that sounds like Christian.
I'm on to you, Christian.
Yep.
You can't fool me like that, Christian. Okay, you can't do that.
Be accepted.
You could try, you'll fail, and then you'll probably cry
Hey,
in a
let's
corner.
move on.
I'll feel bad.
Thank you. Moving on.
Let's move on.
Moving on.
Gee, I wonder why.
Luckily, if you're listening to this, you're listening to a special extended version of episode 74's WHOniverse. People on Krypton Radio are not listening to us talk this nonsense.
So are you saying the people on Krypton Radio got it better than what they're listening to right now? Dang. So if you downloaded this, you got Jip.
Well, you don't want to say that. You don't want to say that. I mean, it might be true, but you don't want to say that. No, this is bonus features. This is Easter eggs. You get the news, and they didn't.
I can talk now? Okay. So there are 2 synopsises that have been released for Dark Water and Death in Heaven, one by BBC, one by Doctor Who magazine. So they're about the same, but there are some different parts. So the one from BBC says, in the mysterious world of the Nethersphere, plans have been drawn up. Missy is about to come face to face with the Doctor, and an impossible choice is looming. Death is not an end, promises the sinister organization known only as 3W. But as the Doctor and Clara discover, you might wish it was. And then Doctor Who magazine, their synopsis says, in the mysterious world of the Nethersphere, plans have been drawn. Old friends and old enemies maneuver around the Doctor, and an impossible choice is looming over him. Death is not an end, promises the organization known as 3W.
Is that the militant wing of the 4-H?
Someone said, 3W, is that like the World Wide Web? Yeah. Now, also in Doctor Who magazine, there were some little notes from Moffat saying that he wanted to kick people out of their comfort zone with this last 2 episodes. He
hasn't done that already?
He says,
I'm sorry.
He says, you think you know how Doctor Who is going to work. The bets are off now. And this is the story we'll tell of what actually happens when we die, but it is still rooted in sci-fi.
Because we know exactly what death is like and what heaven is like. So it's not science fiction when we write about it, because we know exactly how it works, don't we? I think someone's a little full of himself, Mr. Moffat. I'm sorry, sir.
Says death as depicted in the finale is shocking, uncompromising, gruesome, and surprisingly grown up.
Okay.
Yes.
So I don't know what to say about that.
And, he felt that he had started to turn the Cybermen into a bit of a joke at times. So he wanted to do a proper scary story.
Yeah, totally take any credit to Neil Gaiman away. Oh, Neil Gaiman ruined the Cybermen. Well, I mean, not that I liked the episode, but still, he ruined the episode, so I'm going to make it better. I'm going to do a better Cybermen story than Neil Gaiman. That's what my name is Stephen Moffat. Thank you very much.
And on a final note,
Get it out of your system.
says...
Yeah, we got to get it out of my system. I'm a little up. Well, I'll tell you why in a few minutes. Go ahead.
Don't hold back, Mark. Let it all out.
No. I'll hold back just for a second. Just go ahead. Do your last story.
On a final note, it said that there's a ghost story is planned for Series 9.
A ghost story? Didn't we already do a ghost story?
I don't know.
Is it going to be around a campfire? Are they going to be
Maybe it's a
marshmallows?
ghost story in relation to whatever's going to happen in these last two. Maybe from someone who died or who's going to die.
Yeah.
Please help
Oh,
Clara.
God. Long-form stories again.
Now, did you hear? Now, you know what it might be? It might be a ghost story about Craig. Because James Corden doesn't start doing the Late Late Show until March, so they could film another episode with Craig in it. It's possible, because the Late Late Show is going to have special celebrity guests hosting the show between the end of Craig Ferguson and the beginning of James Corden. I'm not sure why, but they're doing it maybe to find someone better and then say, I'm sorry, Mr. Corden, you lose, and we're going to use this guy. But I'm not sure how CBS is thinking right now.
You are reaching. You are so reaching.
Well, you know why I'm reaching? You know why I'm reaching? Because this is the final show of Mark Who 42. Well, at least the final show of our second year on the air. Because next Wednesday, when we've got our next show, that will be the second anniversary of our show. We've hit it. November 5th. 2012 was our first show, and now November 5th, 2014 is coming up next week. So it will be the beginning of a new Mark Who 42. Mark Who 42 Volume 3.
And is Moffat writing the plot line for all that?
Oh, he totally, yeah, that's the problem.
Is one of us
That's
gonna
why I'm
kick
upset. Because Moffat decided not to. Moffat backed out of Volume 3, and I'm very angry at Moffat for backing out of writing our radio show. So it's just annoying.
Mark, it could
Yeah.
be worse. Remember, it could
What could
always
be
be worse. Moffat could be replaced by George R.R. Martin, and then next thing you know, we're all at a wedding.
Great.
Didn't I tell you that was who I got? That's the other reason I'm upset. Because George R.R. Martin is making our first show of the third season, our last show ever. No, I'm just kidding. Do we have any more? Let's get away from that. But it's our anniversary show next week, and we're going to have a special guest. We'll tell you about that later in the program. But is that the end of the news, or do we have anything else, Trish?
Well, there was a little story that says that Danny Pink may actually make it to the end of the show, end of the series.
Oh, so he won't be cybernetically
well, I don't know,
changed into a
because Sam Anderson, he said that by the end of the season, Moffat has kind of immortalized Danny Pink. You can be immortalized as a Cyberman.
Yeah.
And we did see him, in those leaked pictures before, him and a Cyberman.
Technically you are immortalized because you can live forever as a Cyberman if you don't get killed.
Yep.
I see what you're saying.
So maybe, I don't know. But he
Or
says
maybe he gets made part-time Lord.
No.
No. Not happening.
Or maybe like Rory, he's an Otten, or, that line can be interpreted many different ways. And besides, not to mention, we do have the leaked photos with him in a cyber armor, but then again, notice how those photos were never taken down. The BBC did.
Were they never taken down? They're still up there?
The BBC did not do a run to take down those photos, at least not that I know of.
Just thinking to myself, if Moffat has written our 75th anniversary special, he's going to send some girl down to our 74 episodes and make us funnier each one of them, right?
And this is our 74th show. I mean, it's amazing. It's our it'll be our third anniversary show. A second, whatever. It's our episode 75. It's 3 years. It's I don't know. It's just amazing. Next show, you've got to be here, but you've got to stay for this show too, because it's going to be good. I hope. Is it?
I hope so.
You're the you're the showrunner, so if it's not good,
it's all my fault, ladies and gentlemen.
See?
You're listening to Mark Who 42's WHOniverse, not right now on the Krypton Radio. Do we have anything? No, we are on Krypton Radio, but right now they're listening to this extra stuff that we're doing. Not sure why. Oh, that's right, to give them news.
Yeah, we have one more news story. It's actually a bit sad.
Oh.
Actress Linda Bellingham, she passed away this past week. And she's best known for playing the Inquisitor in Colin Baker's story of the Trial of the Time Lord.
Yes.
And she also did that character for Big Finish.
Yeah, she was in Trial of the Valeyard, which I just listened to on. Actually, the day after she died, I played Trial of the Valeyard to get it through my system.
Yeah.
That she was gone. She was a good actress. We were hoping at some point, maybe having her on the show, but it looks like that's not going to happen.
You think? Oh, no.
I want to give my heartfelt consolation to her family and friends out there, and to all the fans who like the Inquisitor. Goodbye, Linda.
And that is all the news we have for today.
Okay, then we're going to take a little break now here on Mark Who 42's Universe. And when we come back, we will start our double review. We've got first a review of Flatline, and then a review of In the Forest of the Night. We will be back right after this. You're listening to Mark Who 42's Universe.
Kid? Yes? Shut up.
Beyond the Night is the GCRN's latest review podcast. We are covering everything in the Knight Rider television universe, from the classic 80s TV series to the 1991 reunion film, Team Knight Rider, and the 2008 relaunch series as well. So join TFG and Mike and Dion the Music Man as they go in-depth and Beyond the Night only on Geekcast Radio Network. You can find Beyond the Night in iTunes and on www.geekcastradio.com.
Kid?
Yes, Michael.
Just keep driving.
Do you like retro shows? Did you grow up in either the 80s or the 90s? Then tune into Telecast, geekcastradio.com's newest podcast. Join us here on the Telecast as we revisit some of your favorite shows, such as Clarissa Explains It All, Salute Your Shorts, Saved by the Bell, and much, much more. Only on geekcastradio.com.
Pixels in the Animation is the Geekcast Radio Network's video game cartoon review show. We are covering every episode of 9 different video game cartoons. Join TV's Mr. Neil and myself, TFG and Mike, as we trek through multiple Mario tunes, Zelda, Captain N, Mega Man, Sonic, and we are also driving through Donkey Kong Country. Pixels in the Animation is 100 episodes of video game cartoon goodness, so tune in to help us find the Pixels in the Animation, which you can find every Wednesday on iTunes and www.geekcastradio.com.
Hello, my name's Fraser Hines, also known as Jamie McCrimmon. You're listening to Mark Who 42.
And we're back here on Mark Who 42's Whoniverse. Right now, we're going to start our review show. Yes, it's our big double review show of both Flatline and In the Forest of the Night here on Krypton Radio. Let's talk about Flatline first. This is what this first segment is all going to be about. And first of all, who thought Flatline was a really damn good show?
Me.
I gotta admit, I mean, I was going in, I was like, oh yay, a Clara-centric episode, oh whoopee, oh, like we haven't seen that all season. But then I watched Flatline, and much like Mikey when they have him try the cereal, I liked it.
I didn't have to take my anti-Clarence. I was fine this episode. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was going to have to take a double dose.
I think what it was is that, even though Clara was the one doing everything, it was really the doctor in her head the whole time telling her what to do, in a way, and stuff. And so it's like, I don't know, it's he had all the answers and she didn't.
Yeah.
She was being the companion that we wanted her to be. This is the companion that Moffat wanted her to be.
Dr. Clara, the Doctor of Lies. Yes.
Doctor of Lies, and I will talk more about that in our next segment about her lying. But let's talk about Flatline. What did you think about the fact that this wasn't filmed in 3D? It could have been a 3D. This would have been better than Deep Breath in 3D. I'll tell you that. This would have knocked it out of the park, especially at the end with the Walking Dead
the boneless
stuff. The boneless.
Weren't those the creepiest? Well, some of the creepiest monsters. I think they were some of the creepiest ones.
Yeah, it could have freaked me out with all their moving around.
You know what? Forget all the bump in the night stuff with Listen. Forget the spider bacteria from Kill the Moon, and even forget the mummy from Mummy on the Orient Express. I think these guys, the boneless, they deserve the award for creepy as heck best villain of season 8 so far.
Yeah,
I mean, these things freak me out. The way that they moved, the kind of flicker effect on the faces, making all the features very indistinct. Come on, that was scary. The crinkling noise as they moved. I mean, come on, that's how you make a scary villain.
Yeah, Christian, remember last week, Christian and I were doing Time Lord Fest, and we talked about villains of Doctor Who, and we would not have been able to talk about the Boneless because they weren't villains, they were monsters. They were honest-to-God monsters, not villains. Right,
That was
Christian?
the question we came up. We had a panel that discussed monsters and villains, and what was the difference, and when does a monster become a villain, or when does the psychology of it come into play when something that we deem as evil thinks it's doing good, and the Doctor has to fight it. And at first, we didn't know what the Boneless were. How do we come up with a bucket of chicken on this thing? That's all I could think about. I name you the Boneless. Next thing I know, I was hungry. I go to KFC all of a sudden.
Yeah, we couldn't find a KFC in that town that we ended up in.
But they were, they were perceiving at first, or at least the Doctor was thinking that these things were, trying to get into our world, just living, existing. They didn't know if they were killing people. They didn't know what they were doing, and what was their next step in their evolution, which was to become 3D. I just think it's a very interesting monster. Never thought of it that way. That was some really engineering writing. And yeah, it's like, well, we've gone through 13 lives and 50 years, and nobody thought about a two-dimensional monster. This is awesome. In all that time.
Well, not only two-dimensional monster, but like truly frightening two-dimensional monster.
Yeah, because there was like no way to communicate with them, to even plead with them.
There was a way to communicate with them because they did find a way of communicating with them.
Eventually.
But originally they couldn't. It was interesting about this episode because I think there was a mistake in the writing. The Doctor, when they found out the TARDIS was shrinking, the Doctor was like, "Oh, this never happens." It's happened many times in Doctor Who history, hasn't it? There was Planet of the Giants, where the TARDIS was, very miniaturized, the size of like an ant or something. Logopolis had the TARDIS shrinking. It wasn't the first time it ever happened. I think there was a mistake in writing. Just thought I'd point that out. I don't know why.
Well, maybe it was the way that it was shrinking that was unique. I mean, if you want to no-prize it, just say the way it was shrinking has never happened before. In Logopolis, wasn't that the Master screwing around with the
lock transfer compensation?
Exactly. So, This was the first time the TARDIS has shrank because somebody's actually leaching energy. This is the first time that somebody's taking a hose to the gas tank and sucking it out.
What about the supporting characters in this story?
Fenton was a total jerk.
Well, Fenton was not tricked by this psychic paper. It suggests that this is due to a lack of imagination. Yeah, Fenton was a jerk. Fenton was a total jerk.
With Fenton and the psychic paper, I found it interesting because I think back to the first time we saw the psychic paper in use, which was End of the World, and the Doctor used it to get him and Rose into the party. He showed it to the steward, and the steward apparently took it. So that officious dipstick, the steward, had more imagination than Fenton? Because,
so.
The steward kind of looked like the intergalactic version of that maitre d' in Ferris Bueller. It's kind of just,
good reference.
Just this nose upturned type of guy. But he apparently had more imagination than Fenton. I mean, that's cold when you think about it.
The Sausage King of New York.
Chicago.
Yep.
Damn, Christian, you gotta get up on more pop culture, man. You're spending too many time referencing Airplane.
Yeah, Twist and Shout happened in downtown Chicago, not New York.
Get away from the Zucker brothers for a while.
He's referring to Christian's almost incessant belief that every meme should be done by an Airplane or a Naked Gun movie. Yeah. Actually,
there's another movie out there?
It probably should.
The Tudius.
The Tudius.
Tudius, yeah.
Tudis, it was. See, you got it wrong just like Clara got it wrong.
Tudius?
You got it wrong like Clara. The Tudis, I thought that was a cool machine that he created because Tudis, 2D, two dimensions. I thought it was a great machine. Of course it doesn't work the first time. Nothing the Doctor makes ever works the first time. But then he was so sure it was going to work, he said absolutely.
By the way, speaking of things not working, Trish had pointed out that notice how long it took. All the stuff that's happening to the TARDIS, and how long did it take for the cloister bell to sound off?
Yeah, there were other alarms going off, and the cloister bell didn't go off until it was stuck on the train track, about to be run over. The TARDIS was in imminent danger before
The
that.
cloister bell going off so late, it's like, is this supposed to be the Doctor Who version of when the Enterprise couldn't eject the warp core in, like, Star Trek episodes? I mean, there's that function right there, but, there's a bunch of times where it's like, there's a warp core breach! I can't eject the core! It's not working! We're gonna die! It's like, why do we even have that button? Why is that even there?
I think the TARDIS is taking its cues from the terrorist warning levels of the different colors that they had, and eventually there's siege mode, there's orange, there's red, there's green and all that, and eventually it gets down to the cloister bell, and this is real, guys, this is really happening, this is really doomsday now.
Either that or the TARDIS is very, very terrified of subways.
Did you guys notice the TARDIS in siege mode looked a lot like the Pandorica?
Yeah, we noticed that right away. It totally looked like the Pandorica with Gallifrey and writing.
Do you know you can actually buy a replica of the TARDIS siege mode?
But if you buy the TARDIS siege mode, you're buying the Pandorica. You just call it the siege mode TARDIS.
No, they actually have one of the TARDIS.
Oh, they have a siege mode?
Yes, made by rubber toe replicas.
When did they come out with that? It's the first time they've ever had a siege mode.
Well, they already have one ready to go.
Wow. They were ready
for it. It's only $80.
That's as much as the
But
Blu-ray.
it's labeled as actual TARDIS sized.
Okay, but
you can actually get a replica that's actual.
Did anyone get kind of weirded out that the major star of Flatline was the traveling TARDIS? The traveling TARDIS was the star. It was in most of the episode.
I wish.
Your TARDIS they stole. You should get money for that. We're discussing Flatline, and to be honest, I don't have much to review on Flatline because I liked it. I don't have much to say, so I'm going to let the rest of my group talk about Flatline right now. I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
When Al gets snatched by the Boneless, when it's like the 3D hand that grabs him and pulls him down the tunnel, and then he disappears, like he's like going down the tunnel, he's heading towards the light.
I wonder what that light is. Oh, I said I wasn't going to talk.
I know, but I mean, it reminded me of other people in other episodes that have been vanishing in flashes of light. He was the only one where that seemed to happen. It's like he didn't immediately get sucked through. It was different than the other people, so I don't know. Here's another little thing I noticed that doesn't have anything to do with anything, but with the train that was heading towards the Doctor when he was in the TARDIS, it was labeled A113, which is all Disney freaks know that number shows up in a lot of Disney Pixar movies. I even went through the list of people that worked on Flatline to see if anybody was connected to Disney Pixar. No, it must be a coincidence.
Well, maybe they were just Disney fans and thought, hey, we have this train in this scene. Let's just throw it in there just for fun.
Well, Christian, do you feel like we finally got the I am the Doctor moment?
Yeah, finally. It was only, 8 episodes later or something
10
like
episodes.
that?
This is the 10th episode.
And this plane is protected. Okay, this is new, but I like it. It was finally the moment that we finally got. And for all those Whovians, for your next April 1st, April Fool's Day joke, this is what you do. You bring your friend to another Whovian's friend's house, ask the person who is in the house to leave, and then have your friend disappear. And all you have to do is bring out a sticky nervous system template and put it on their wall and freak them all out there.
Or have somebody spray paint the back of your friend's wardrobe onto the wall.
A lot of people were complaining online that final moment was ruined because they're saying the Doctor used the sonic screwdriver to zap the Boneless. But if you watch that scene, it wasn't the sonic screwdriver, it was the TARDIS. He was using the sonic screwdriver to set it off and to direct it. But the surge that came through him that blasted the Boneless came from the TARDIS.
I noticed that. I don't know where people are getting, he zapped the Boneless with the sonic screwdriver, because when the TARDIS was restored to normal size, first thing that happened was the Boneless were trapped in that force field type thing. So if anything, the Doctor used the sonic screwdriver just to hit the release button, to hit the return switch. We were talking about Fenton earlier. That final scene where the Doctor materializes the TARDIS and then all the survivors get to go their own way. Fenton kind of reminded me of that guy from Voyage of the Damned. What was he, like a stockbroker, some sort of, rich, self-centered jerk? Fenton reminded me of him, but truth be told, I think Fenton even went up a few notches more in terms of being a giant a-hole. Because, the guy from Voyage of the Damned was just really self-centered and focused on, let me sell all my shares in Capricorn stock or whatever. But Fenton was just a callous jerk. First of all, he dismissed the people who died. In fact, even worse, the people that he thought of that died were the other people in the community service, he didn't even think about the people in the murals. He didn't even think about them. The only people he thought of were the people that he saw die, and he's like, oh, they're community payback scumbag. And then to top it off, he's happily whistling, oh, but I'm alive, so it's all good because I'm alive. If I had died, it would be a tragedy, but the fact that they died, it's good. It's like, wow, you're a cold jerk.
Yeah, he likened it to a forest fire. He said the objective is to save the great trees, not the brushwood.
Jeez. I'm almost wishing Fenton will come back for the finale just to get killed. And I hope it's like a red shirt moment.
I gotta come back for that
like,
one.
Seriously, man. I want him to come back just to get totally red-shirted because I hate him.
Walking Dead. If anybody remembers the discussion from Voyage of the Damned between the 10th Doctor and Mr. Copper, they were talking about that guy, the stockbroker, or whoever that guy was. And they said, there were a lot of people that were dying, and they were kind of talking, insinuating that guy should have died. And they were walking past by, and they didn't think of it anymore. So as we see this guy over here, who we wanted to kick the bucket because he was just a jerk over around, but Fenton lives. I got that feeling of that, I think that's what they were trying to write into the story. There are people who will survive that you deem that they should not have survived, but is that really our case to judge? I guess Jamie Matheson, when he wrote the story, who's to judge that this person is supposed to die, even though he is probably the biggest jerk in the world? And like the stockbroker from Voyage of the Damned, they still lived. And even when they lived, they didn't appreciate it as much as people like the Doctor, Clara, or somebody who has our perspective. Who are they to die?
Yeah.
Yes.
Trish, you had mentioned the A113.
Yes.
More information on that. Yeah, it was in the Pixar movies, but there's a reason. Because A113 is the classroom used at the California Institute of the Arts for graphic design and character animations. So, it was definitely, because I got to tell you, that looks so CGI, that train, that I'm not sure if they should have credited A113 because it didn't look like a real train to me. Now, what about Rigsy? We haven't talked about Rigsy, have we? Rigsy was a cool guy. I would like him as a companion, maybe. He was Dr. Clara's companion. What do you think of Rigsy?
Not a bad supporting player, not a bad guest character. I think that other than Fenton, which I swear to God, I want to give him fried food and watch his heart explode, because he looks old enough that would have an effect. But other than Fenton, I thought that the other people in the community service, well, first of all, I had this idea that in my head, just looking at it, that Rigsy was probably, of all the stuff that they're there for, Rigsy's offense was probably the least horrific or, the least
Well, it wasn't murdering,
right? No,
or anything.
I mean, of course, you talk to grouchy McJerk-faced Fenton, and it may as well have been murder, putting that filth on the walls. Yeah, he seemed like a sweet kid who, of all the vices you could have, this is probably the least. And also, I like the scene where they thought that Clara was one of the mourners for the missing people, and how one guy even chastised his partner and said, hey, leave it alone. She's probably missing somebody. The fact that you could have made Rigsy the exception that proves the rule, and just had the others be a bunch of unrepentant scumbags, like Fenton believes them to be, but they actually had dimensions. It kind of makes you wonder, what were the offenses of those other guys?
Well, maybe some of them were murderers.
I doubt they would be doing community service.
There could have been a murderer there. England's got different laws than we do in America.
But at least they had debt. They had range. One of them didn't just look at Clara and be like, you got anybody? I haven't seen a real woman in a few months. It wasn't like stereotypical,
I just loved how when Clara had Rigsy spray paint a door, there just happened to be a poster the same size as a door in there. It just happened to be. Those are just everywhere. And happened to be spray paint there too, and just the right colors too to make a door. Yeah, I love that stuff.
And plus, Rigsy does seem to have, some serious artistic talent. So, I mean, even if that spray paint wasn't what you would normally use, in the hands of a great artist, you can turn anything into a great work of art. And plus, the Boneless were scary, but I don't think they go around going, that's a poster, that's the wrong size. Remember, they're just getting into the world of 3D, so I don't think they have Bob Vila and Adam Carolla levels of measuring.
But they know the consistency of a chicken nugget, so...
What did you think about the lies that Lara was telling? Dr. Clara, and Clara's starting to lie a lot. She's lying to everyone. She lies about being on the TARDIS to Danny.
And it's like, who the heck answers their cell phone when they're being attacked by some unknown monster? It's like, It's at the end when she's with the doctor and they're talking with him. She just sent it to voicemail. Why did she feel the need
Should have
to
done
answer
that
it
there.
when she was, hanging from a ceiling?
Maybe she was panicking. Maybe she was panicking and she
It
didn't know what she was
stupid.
doing.
It was really stupid.
It was stupid. And that's why I loved Clara in this story, because she did stupid things for stupid reasons instead of doing stupid things for.
It's funny you should mention that,
reasons.
Trish. There's a certain auto insurance company who they put out this commercial. It's kind of Halloweenish about making stupid decisions, and they're being chased around by this evil thing. And instead of going into the car that's ready to go,
Oh yeah, I've seen the commercial. The one with the one where they go into the woodshed with chainsaws,
that's
and you
the first
see
thing that came to my mind. It's just like, if you see all these cliche Halloween movies where the girl is walking by herself and all of a sudden they're walking down, the monster's behind her. I said the last thing you're going to pull out is answer the phone call from your boyfriend, or i.e. if they do call, you're like, I need some help right now.
Yeah.
I'm about to die.
Yeah.
No, enjoy the park. It's fine. Yeah, enjoy it. That's great. I'm about to be killed by a 2D boneless thing. But I'm like, oh, God, are you kidding me?
I do have another question, and it goes back to the psychic paper and Fenton. So he has no imagination, so he wouldn't be fooled by it, right? So does that mean William Shakespeare has no imagination? Didn't William Shakespeare on the Shakespeare Code, it didn't work on him either? Is the doctor saying William Shakespeare has absolutely no imagination?
No, because he saw right through it, and if you're going that route.
Well, maybe Fenton was too smart for it. Why did he get cut down? Why did the doctor have to cut another human down, another pudding brain down?
I think in Fenton's case, it's not a question of him being more clever than the psychic paper.
I know. I'm just playing with you, Eddie. That's all.
Yeah, no, don't play with me, man.
It's not the only time where the psychic paper failed. In fact, what was it? The Christmas Carol. Sardic saw through the psychic paper. It goes, all it is a bunch of wavy lines. So apparently it shorted it out. So take it for what it's worth. I guess the psychic paper is like the sonic screwdriver. 1 minute it's opening doors, and the next minute it's doing other things that it shouldn't be.
When the doctor and Clara were coming out of the TARDIS, did you expect a bunch of clowns to come out after them?
Not.
I don't know how long they would have had to been in there waiting for the take. They must have been dying in there. That was this small. And I thought it was cute when the TARDIS got even smaller, how they had the doctor sticking his hand out to give her things, like the sledgehammer.
Yeah. Do like the wavy little hand thing in front of her face, and she goes, don't do that again.
One thing I wanted to talk about was the very end of the episode. I've been looking for different theories online, trying to find out more stuff about Missy, what other people think. Eddie and I did a little panel the other day at a con here in Reno. And it went pretty well. We didn't have very many
how'd that
people.
go?
Well, we were the first panel on the very first day of the con, and it was on a Friday. Not everybody was off of work yet. Someone in the audience, they came up with an idea that they thought that Missy, maybe she was in a tesseract. And then when I had that in my head, we were watching Flatline the other day, and the part where Missy is watching Clara on her iPad, behind her there's in the wall there was a cutout that looked like a Cyberman eye. And then that also kind of reminded me though of Asylum of the Daleks, when Clara had her view outside was a Dalek eye stalk, and it turns out that she was inside a Dalek. Could Missy be inside a tesseract of a Cyberman? That's what I thought. But then when I saw the trailer for, next week's stuff, that kind of throws that out the window. But then another theory, another thing I saw was that someone was wondering if Danny was working for Missy.
Now that's an interesting take. What if Danny
how
is
he said he
working
had
for
a bad
Missy?
day, that maybe he died and made a deal with Missy or the devil or whatever she is to come back, and that this was her requirement of him, that he had to help influence Clara.
That scene with Missy at the end. Well, first of all, how to raise questions with so few words. Missy says she chose well. Is this definitive confirmation that Missy was the one who gave Clara the phone number? Is this finally answering the question of who was the woman in the shop?
Well, I think we'll find out next
Of course,
week.
the other thing is, chosen for what?
Does this kind of make it that it being a splintered version of Clara is off the table now?
It puts holes into it, but it doesn't take it off the table. It still can be. I mean, we won't talk too much of it, but we saw the trailer. And after I saw the trailer, I said, maybe.
One thing, though, that I'm wondering is we're treating Missy as a straight-up villain, but I have to wonder, could we maybe be wrong? One of the things we've been complaining about is there have been multiple times in this season so far where Clara has shown up the doctor, where she's been better than the Doctor, where she knows better than the Doctor. And I'm wondering, at the end of the day, is there a point to this that goes into the show and it's not just Moffat trying to make the companion the main character? Could it be that Missy is trying to turn Clara into sort of the perfect companion for the Doctor? Could Missy maybe be behind some of the stuff we've seen this season, like, for example, Gus in Mummy on the Orient Express? Or could she have put the idea of the Promised Land into the head of the half-faced man and the robots from Robots of Sherwood? Could she be trying to set something up to give the Doctor adversities and the perfect companion to sort of make the perfect Doctor, to make the Doctor a better person?
And then Missy
This could also fit with the idea that Missy's the TARDIS, that maybe Missy is a part of the TARDIS that has kind of splintered off and gone crazy and is creating this situation, again, to make the perfect Doctor.
So Flatline was an enjoyable story, and if you're listening to us, and I hope you still are, and I don't say that out of any mean way, but we really haven't been, I don't think we've really reviewed
It's a review.
this episode.
We reviewed it because we said we liked it.
I don't think we really...
the review doesn't have to be our criticism of Clara. This was actually an episode that we enjoyed Clara in. I mean, there you go. That's the review. 4 thumbs up or 8 thumbs up if we're each using both our
4
hands.
thumbs up.
And by the way, make sure Patrick Hawkins listened to this review, because I know he's had problems with season 8. And we really and I know that he did enjoy Mummy on the Orient Express, but I know he was hesitant when he found out that Flatline was a Clara heavy episode. I said this on his Facebook post. I'm going to say this again. Patrick, if you're listening, give Flatline a chance, okay? I've had my problems with Clara this season, and I enjoyed Flatline. Same thing with Trish. Same thing with Mark. Same thing with Christian. Give it a chance, Patrick, okay? And if you don't like it, you can contact me directly on Facebook. You can post on my wall saying I gave it a chance and it sucked. How dare you suggest that to me, Ed? I hate you, and I wish death and pestilence on you. You have my permission to do that, okay? But give it a chance, Patrick, all right?
Yes, give it a chance, Patrick. That's what we tell him every time he does a panel with us, and he did do a panel with us at Time Lord Fest. He did a good job, too. Okay, we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to review In the Forest of the Night. So stay with us, and I'm sure you'll love it, because I love it already, and I haven't even said it yet. We'll be right back. Attention all Whovians! While you're waiting for the new episode of Doctor Who, start your own adventures for the Mark Who 42 books. They carry unique and affordable prices. Visit Amazon.com/shop Mark Who 42. That's Amazon.com/shop/Mark Who 42. Mark Who 42 books. Set your imagination to the Whoniverse.
Doctor, moment of science. Here is the lab director and your human host, Dr. Geek.
Hello everyone. Welcome to my lab. In today's moment, I thought I would answer some listener mail. Debbie from Florida writes, Dear Dr. Geek, recently I heard you reference Harry Potter. I'm a big fan of those books. But shouldn't you be getting your science from science fiction? Well, Debbie, I'm glad you're a fan of the Harry Potter series. I am too. This is a question I get a lot. I actually never limited the science to science fiction. All fiction is fair game. As Clark once said, any advanced technology would be indistinguishable from magic. Put that another way, it's why Time Lord science looks all timey-wimey to us. Thanks again, Debbie, for an excellent question. So till next time, apply your geekdom.
This moment of science was brought to you by Dr. Geek's Laboratory, Geek Delight, a Brazen Wench production, copyright 2014, in association with this network. Join the adventure. Download the full labcast at www.drgeeklab.com and follow us at facebook.com/drgeeklab and twitter.com/drgeeklab.
This is Gareth David from Talk. You are listening to Mark Who 42's Whoniverse.
welcome back to Mark Who 42's WHOniverse, Doctor Who WHOniverse, that is. I'm your host, Mark-Baumgarten on Krypton Radio, and with me is Patricia-Helm, Eduardo-m-Freyre, and Christian-basel. Hi, guys.
Hey, still here.
You're still here? I wasn't sure.
We're still here. I'm just saying goodbye to the community service people. I think one of them wanted to say goodbye to you, Christian.
Right. See you later, Mr. Basil.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to review another great episode in the Forest of the Night. Christian, remember how you were saying how the other episodes should have been in a different order so that it made sense of the season by putting... You remember that certain episodes at the end of the season should have been put up front? I'm thinking they should have skipped a few of the episodes that they made at the beginning of the season and just done Deep Breath and then started where you told it to start, and we'd have a killer season. This season is getting better. Flatline was good, but I gotta say that In the Forest of the Night was beautiful. I loved it. What about you guys?
You did have the kids as guest characters.
But the kids were good this time. I love the kids. They should be annoying, but they're lovable.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't know, maybe it's me because, I have some personal experience in this field, but the kids kind of reminded me of when I teach.
Okay, but that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The kids reminded me, because I've gotten some of that. Like when they flash back, first of all, the beginning of the episode, when you had the kid with the flashlight. Well, I haven't taken any kids over to the museum for like a sleepover field trip. That reminds me of other things. Like for example, when I've substituted a math class and they have math work, I'll still see kids messing with their cell phones and they'll be like, no, I'm using the calculator function.
Ruby was hysterical in that flashback.
Yeah.
The X is right there, so it's on top. It's
funny you should bring.
Why don't you give someone else a chance to answer a question?
It's funny that you should bring that up. It's funny you should bring that up because I've also had that. I've seen that in action. I've had that, maybe not with math, but with different things. I think my absolute favorite is when I'm teaching like an English class or a history class, and they have like bookwork. There are questions at the end of the reading, and they're like, I can't find the answer. And then I go, it's in the book. And they go, where is it in the book? And I'm going, you have to read. It's like, I have to read it? Yes.
I think there should be a new rule in Doctor Who that if you're going to have a kid, they have to be as precocious as the Coal Hill Year 8 Gifted and Talented group. I think that's the law.
I wouldn't use the word precocious, but they felt real. They didn't feel forced.
You're right. They felt real.
None of them were Angie 2.0.
Oh, God.
None of them were Angie.
That's the kids. Let's talk about the episode in general. No, actually, I'm wrong. We should talk about the kids. We should talk about Maeve Arden. Maeve Arden, which means Forest of Intoxication. Maeve is usually known as a red curly-haired girl, the tale of Queen Maeve of Connacht, with green eyes. She's a true Irish girl. And they're usually a bit mad. And that description fit Maeve, except for the curly hair. She literally is Little Red Riding Hood in this story. She's got the red jacket. And there are big bad wolves in the forest, too. I mean, fairy tale all over. Maeve, wasn't she a great character? Everyone thinks she's got this mental problem, and she's really being communicated to by the tree.
Yeah, the challenge in the storyline. It was really different to where the Doctor saw right through what all the pudding brains couldn't see for themselves. Yeah. He said that this is not an illness, this is not a sickness, this is real.
I also like that they had Maeve, when she's walking around, she's kind of throwing her hands about like she's, trying to swat stuff away. And I like how they, this was brought up by Trisha's brother who watched it with us, that they actually answered that. She's doing this for half the episode, and then they brought up an answer. I mean, and I also love the opening scene with Maeve in the TARDIS and just the way the Doctor interacts with her. It almost feels like the Doctor kind of lightened up a bit. Like he was trying to be a little bit more, a little, I don't know, maybe not less grumpy, but at least kind of, this is a little kid, let me not be all sour-faced,
Do you have an appointment? You need an appointment to see the Doctor.
I love that. All I could think of was Lucy Van Pelt, and there said 5 cents to come in.
If the Doctor's being nicer and stuff, he was really mean to the cast of Les Miserables. Totally. You didn't catch that? Yeah, am I the only one who heard the Les Miserables joke?
Here's the thing. I think that I think what it is he doesn't want to watch a musical that's like depressing because think of all the characters that die in that. It's like, geez.
It's just like Doctor Who.
No, it's not. It's not.
Characters die.
No. Again, I swear to God, Mark, you're going to put a curse in the show. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Cut it out.
Did you guys notice that when, he was telling her that there's something wrong with the TARDIS, it's not moving, I want to go to the center of London, it's not happening, but then there's a voice that says you have reached your destination. Since when does the TARDIS do that?
Ever since they met Thomas. I don't know.
That was just so wrong. Absolutely wrong.
But I've never heard the TARDIS do that.
It never has. I think it was just a little joke, and it was a little joke.
My theory on that is we heard the TARDIS do that while Maeve was in the TARDIS, and I kind of wonder because it said you reached your destination. It said it twice before the Doctor said stop saying that. So I kind of have to wonder, did the Doctor put in that little voice as kind of something for Maeve's benefit? Because she's a lost little girl, so, let me put in this little GPS voice so that the little girl knows that we're heading home. So I kind of have to wonder, is it because of that?
Or is it because the Doctor hears the TARDIS's voice? Doesn't he hear the voice of the TARDIS? A lot of times, doesn't he know what she's saying?
Yeah, he probably hears it. Telepathic circuit.
Is she hearing it too? Because she hears voices? Because she's so receptive?
There you go.
I'm just thinking he's constantly tinkering with the TARDIS, that he always upgrades or changes something, dating back to Cold War, where he was trying to fix that circuit from and the chameleon circuit itself and everything that he's been trying to. We're always going to be surprised by what the Doctor will install, have, or remove and put in, or something along the way. So I wasn't too surprised. I thought it was cutesy.
Christian, are you saying it's kind of like in the Star Wars movies when they have R2-D2 pull out like another little doohickey gadget? Look, now he has rocket boosters. Oh, look, he has a little grapper arm. Oh, he has a little electric shock thing so he can attack that monkey lizard thingy, Salacious Crumb. What will the TARDIS have next?
It's got basically the equivalent of Batman's utility belt, and it just runs out endless stuff coming out like Mary Poppins, just pulling out umbrellas and tape measures and stuff, and here you go.
So when are we going to see the TARDIS shark repellent?
Am I just super smart, or am I not the only person who, before the halfway point of the episode, knew how it was going to end? Was it that obvious that the trees were growing to protect us all?
That was one thing I was going to say. It was obvious, and I didn't like how it took the Doctor so long to catch on.
It took him a long time. I was watching the timer.
Usually he's the one that knows, and he has to get the other people to realize what it is.
To be honest,
actually, he did.
To be honest, he did figure it out first of them. We figured it out. We were better than the Doctor this time. We're great. That's us. Mark-Who42. Outthink the Doctor. That's our new slogan. Mark-Who42, outthink the Doctor.
Is Clara our new showrunner, Mark?
Yeah. Okay. Clara is a bad person. I have to say that again. Clara is a bad person. She lies all the time and justifies that she's taking after the Doctor who lies. But he lies for a just reason. She just lies. I mean, really, she's bad. Clara is she's lying to everybody. I don't like that. I don't like a companion who lies. She
slowly seems to be wanting to turn into the Doctor. I mean, in Flatline, she called herself the Doctor, and now she's going in there and using stuff, and said, "Am I you now?" I'm like, "No, honey, no. Please don't say that. Go away."
Like he said in Flatline. Like you said in Flatline, there's nothing good about it.
Nothing to do with it.
I was thinking with all the invasion of the trees, am I the only one that was waiting for M. Night Shyamalan to lay down on the ground and watch this big lawnmower come after him? And
I was waiting for some hobbits to show up.
I was waiting for Treebeard.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the Ents to come out.
Yeah, that should
Did you guys notice that when he finally figured out what was going on, the Doctor, when he figured it out and he was chasing after them, he actually called Danny Mr. Pink.
He did.
He didn't call him P or whatever,
Hey, maybe the Doctor's actually starting to warm up to Danny.
Well, I mean, the Doctor realizes that Danny is being lied to by this really bad person that happens to travel with him. And maybe he feels for
I think
him.
Also, I don't know, this episode, the caretaker, this made me think, I don't know, Danny should have done more this season. I mean,
he could have
watching him
more.
Leading the kids and how he used the flashlight to disorient the tiger, I keep thinking, man, Danny should have been doing a lot more. I mean, I can't help but think. I start thinking back to other episodes in this season and wondering, well, what would have happened if Danny would have been around? Like, I think I mentioned Kill the Moon before. What would have happened if Danny would have been on the moon being part of the group to make the decision?
Well, then it would be a man butting into an abortion decision again, and that would have been wrong. I think that it had to be womankind.
Okay.
I do believe that's why the doctor backed out.
Okay,
But
okay, let me bring up another one. Imagine Danny Pink in Time Heist.
I can
in
see
fact,
that.
actually, not only would he probably maybe try to bring his skills into play, but we remember how much of a problem Clara had with the teller. Imagine if the teller would have been using his abilities to kind of, go looking for guilt. Imagine if he had gotten into Danny Pink.
Well, we would have
But
learned
if we
a lot.
thought Clara had a problem, imagine how much of a problem Danny Pink would have had. I just keep thinking he should have been in more. I mean, imagine, just imagine all this stuff. Imagine if he was on the Orient Express with the Doctor and Clara. Would he have helped kind of figure things out?
Apparently, with all that guilt that Danny Pink had, if he met the teller, he'd been gone in 66 seconds, literally. And I wanted him to be the next companion, to tell you the truth. I wanted Clara out and him in. The dynamic of those two working together and the friction about their core beliefs and values butting heads and having to deal with adventures like that. I would have loved that episode than Clara, because I still don't know why Clara was hanging around the TARDIS anymore.
Because the Matt Smith doctor told her to stay with him. It's a doctor's
She just said, see right through him, see him for what he's worth. That's still me. That's all he did. He didn't say.
But that was enough to sway her. She would have left if it wasn't for that.
I guess, but also, like, on the other hand, it's like, I think we discussed this at SnafuCon. The fact that Clara's the commuter companion. And Trish, if I remember correctly, everybody at the panel agreed that if the TARDIS showed up, they'd be like, oh, forget this. Yeah, I ain't coming into work on Monday.
Later. That's true.
Who would want to be like, oh, yeah, no, I have to get back because I have to go to work.
Clara wants to have her cake and eat it, too. She wants to have this cute little secret of, ooh, I'm going to go see the Medusa Cascade. Oh, I'm going to go see the planet with the shrubs. Oh, but then I get to go back to my mundane job and laugh at everybody because, hey, I've seen the Orange Nebula with this and that. I've seen this planet and that, and you haven't. She wants to be normal but still have this double life. And it's just, come on, seriously.
What do you think about the aspect of the fact that the doctor tells Clara that the forest will be
forgotten? I kind of like when they go back to that historical event. They talked about the Tunguska Blast that took back. And I mean, I remember that story because it was mentioned in Ghostbusters. And I looked it up after Dan Aykroyd mentions it. And then I saw it again in this episode. And I thought it was kind of cool to have that random explanation of something that happened on Earth that couldn't be explained and having to explain it in the Whovian world. I thought that was just kind of cute. That's probably a bad term, but you know what I mean. It was kind of nice.
Yeah, but I mean, in the Russell T. Davies era, Earth kept having invasions, and people remember the invasions, and it was common knowledge for anyone who lived on planet Earth that they were not alone. And I remember back in the day, back in one of my favorite episodes, Remembrance of the Daleks, the Seventh Doctor talks about how the humans on Earth, on Doctor Who, forget humanity's capacity for self-deception. Because Ace is like, why haven't I heard of this? And he goes, what about the Zygon Gambit or the Yeti invasion of London? You haven't remembered that because humanity does forget. And it looks like Stephen Moffat brought that back when Russell was having everyone know about aliens. And I think because of the Big Bang 2, that maybe it wiped that bit of foreknowledge out of our heads and back to the olden days where humanity does deceive itself and doesn't know that there are aliens out there, despite the fact that, especially on Doctor Who, we get invaded every week.
I think also, as far as the trees, in this particular case, I think also it's this thought where humanity as a whole wants to think that we're in control of things, that we have conquered nature, that we can't be thrown for a loop. So this idea that nature had to throw us a solid and protect us from something like a solar flare, humanity as a whole may not want to think about that because it means we're not in control. It means that there's still fundamental forces out there that if they want to can smack us around and go, who do you think you are? Sit down, child. You don't know anything. We don't want to think about that. And plus the fact that the trees dissipated into sparkly dust stuff, it would be more comforting to think, no, there wasn't a solar flare. It was a trick of the light, some sort of rare thing, and it had a hallucinogenic effect. But everything's fine now. Go about your business.
You sound like UNIT explaining it away. You sound like a UNIT general explaining it away.
Maybe
Ed.
UNIT, or maybe it's just you gotta explain it because do you really want to go to sleep? Do you really want to live your life thinking at any moment now, if the trees are not liking me, If there's another astral event, I could die. The average person doesn't want to think that, so they will come up with an explanation to shove it away. Of course not. A tree can't help me. It's a stationary thing. What am I thinking? I think it's just human nature. An invasion is a little bit easier to take because that's a flying saucer. You can shoot down a flying saucer.
Yeah, but still, we don't want to be afraid that at any moment another alien race can come down.
Exactly.
So it's good that humanity stays oblivious.
Backing up Ed's claim a little bit there, the event mentioned was the Tunguska event. And that was on a scale that was really horrific if you really think about it, how much damage the planet took. Why isn't this something that, kids would know off the top of their head? This was huge at the time. I think what happened, it happened around the turn of the century.
1908.
Wasn't that in
Siberia.
Russia? And why would the history books cover something that was going on there? I mean, it's not well known. Even in our real world, it's not that well known. It was in the middle of nowhere. No one really knew about it.
I mean, if it happened somewhere else in a populated city, we would know about it, and we still don't know the full answer of what the scope of it, what really took place. We take some guesses and like that. And there's things that have happened. How were the pyramids built? We know they existed, but we just don't know. And sometimes we kind of bury it. Things like World War I and World War II, if you were to ask kids about it in school, they would barely know.
Well, but that's now. The doctor's basically saying you're going to forget about it tomorrow, that you're going to just forget
Christian,
about
to answer what you were saying, you answered it yourself, and Mark also answered it. The thing about something like Tunguska, I mean, it's a couple of things. Number one, it was an event that happened it was an almost once-in-a-lifetime event. Doctor Who mentioned a similar event that happened in Brazil, and this happened in 1930. But this is a very rare event. It's not like a blast like Tunguska happens on a regular basis, not to mention that, it happened in the middle of nowhere, Siberia. There were no reported fatalities, unless you want to count the trees that got flattened. So it's okay, this is a curiosity.
And those trees got really mad.
Yeah, well,
I'll tell you that.
Well, it's Tunguska is a curiosity, but it is not a concern. So there's no reason that it should be public knowledge and that we should be hey, be careful because we could get another Tunguska or another Brazil event.
Right, but everyone in the world saw the trees and the foliage outside their windows. You know, I mean, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
How do you just forget
I'm saying
that?
there were witnesses during that time, and it was something on a horrific scale. It happened in a populated town. Luckily, it just happened in the middle of Siberia, of course. But history tends to forget things. And as we're coming through the next century, we're forgetting our history even more and more and more each day. And the kids seem to, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm going into a bigger topic, but it seems like the human race is selectively choosing what we remember, what we should forget.
I think that's what the Seventh Doctor
It's like the old saying, time heals all wounds. What kind of helps this forgetting, and I use this in air quotes, is that some events, as they get older and older and first-hand witnesses are becoming less and less available, then we kind of just shove that aside. And also, part of the self-deception is, that happened a long time ago, we're better people now. So we kind of just shove it off.
But how would we forget all the forests and everything, especially with all the selfies being taken, all the pictures and social media? How is that ever going to be forgotten?
And it comes back to the old adage, if you don't understand or appreciate or remember history, history will always repeat itself. Well, Doctor Who just showed us that this event has been happening. Everybody's been writing it off, and here it comes again, another time. And what do we do?
Now, they weren't just writing it off, because the Doctor makes a point by saying that fairy tales, such as Grimm's Tales, and other stories that involve forests evolved from these events happening. Why I made the Little Red Riding Hood joke at the beginning of this segment. It did seem that this story was like a fairy tale, especially at the very end when Annabelle comes back. What do you guys think of Annabelle coming back? Was it too
It was bizarre. It was just weird. Why was she hiding in a bush?
Yeah,
that makes no sense.
Yeah,
I want
absolutely
no sense.
that.
It's not like she was a little kid that was hiding because she was scared. She was obviously a young teenager. You know what I mean? It made no sense to me for her to be hiding in a bush.
Well, it was a happy
The
ending.
only way I would have accepted that is if she was stuck in the bush.
Yeah, exactly.
And then she was the bush wrapped around her and locked, and then said, "You're not going anywhere," type deal. But hello, here she is, and just why didn't you just crawl out of there?
And who knows? Maybe this is something that will be answered in the next 2 episodes. Maybe this is a setup and they didn't make it obvious.
Okay, I have a question for you. Do you think that Danny took the fact that he found out Clara was lying to him all this time too well?
That's another reason why some people think that he might be working for Missy, because he's way too understanding.
Now, that may have been because it was in front of the other students and he didn't want to blow up and get angry and put all his business out in front of the students. He might be fuming inside and not happy. That may have totally been so that the kids that he was very importantly taking care of and nurturing, trying to keep them away from his anger, because he might get very angry. Maybe that's part of the reason why he doesn't want to be a soldier. Maybe he gets angry.
It would have been a different story if he found out that all the green that was growing on the planet would just happen to be Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy, and he just grew up.
Well, if that was the case, when they were using Mabe to communicate, we would have heard Mabe's voice, but then the other voice would have been, I am Groot. I am Groot.
I figured.
I'm saving the planet. I am Groot.
And can we talk about Missy at the end?
Oh, we can talk about Missy. Now, I love the fact that Missy says, now that was surprising. Because, see, she expected there to be many deaths caused by the doctor, and no one died in the forest of the night.
Is that why she was surprised?
So that was what was surprising. That was surprising.
I was trying to figure out, is that why she was surprised?
I'm pretty sure that it makes sense.
She says, and I love surprises, and that sounded very sarcastic.
Well, yeah, but every time she appeared, it was always to get someone who died, and that was surprising.
I have a couple of different theories on that. The first theory is that, it's kind of what you're thinking, which is that she's surprised that there were no casualties. The image she's looking at when she says that.
Do you notice that the image she's looking at is the same angle of the Earth that they're seeing from the TARDIS?
Yes, and actually, I'll get to that.
Doesn't that kind of put my theory up a little higher?
Remember, we have the same theory, so
and going back to Flatline, the part where she's looking at Clara's staying right next to the TARDIS.
Yeah. See? TARDIS.
But did you notice that in that particular scene, though, in The Force of the Night, that she appears to be sitting in that office setting where the guy was interviewing the police officer?
Mm-hmm. A darker version of it.
Even in the background, you could see the window that he looked out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. She was waiting to collect the dead.
That's theory one. Maybe she was expecting that the doctor wouldn't figure it out and there would be mass casualties and, she'd be having a happy day. The other possibility is maybe she was surprised that Clara decided to go with the doctor to watch the solar flare. Maybe she was expecting Clara to stay on Earth with Danny.
But she's looking at the flare, not at
This
Clara
is
and the
true,
doctor.
but we don't know how much she was observing. Was she observing this entire time, or was she doing something else and then she went on her computer and said, ooh, I want to watch some solar flare deaths. Oh, crap. We don't know how long she's been watching.
Right.
So, she could have been watching the entire adventure unfold, and she's thinking, oh, and then Clara's going to choose Danny, and, this will be a bigger part of my master plan. Oh, she's with the doctor.
Yeah, wasn't Clara supposed to go home to grade the papers, not go with the doctor away again? Wasn't that how Danny left her, that they were walking home to take the kids home, and then she was going to grade the papers?
Well, then again, she's in a TARDIS, so...
But she wasn't in the TARDIS. She was walking away with Danny, and then cut to TARDIS, and she's there again.
But what I'm saying is that with the TARDIS, she can take a break.
She's a bad
go
girl.
See a solar flare, and then the doctor can drop her off 2 minutes later, and she has the whole night to grade papers. To be honest, traveling on the TARDIS would be a teacher's dream. They can go on an adventure, relax, and then be put back like 2 seconds later, and it's like, oh, good, and I have plenty of time to grade the papers.
This wasn't mentioned yet, and I think the one thing in this episode that really just kind of got under my – I wouldn't say got under my skin, but just raised the hair on my skin up was the talk about Clara not being the last of her kind and seeing the interaction between the two.
That was a very important
that was just it kind of came from left field, but it and I don't know why it was mentioned too much, but it kind of just I can't really tell you how I felt about that. That was just weird, for a better term of anything on that came up.
She was also kind of a little, when she said it, she said, like, excuse me, she kind of didn't want to bring it up to present company.
For someone who's totally starting to mimic and use all of the doctor's tricks and be like the doctor, she doesn't want to be the doctor. She doesn't want to be the last Time Lord, the last human, because she's afraid that it'll turn her into him, but she's already turning into him. Or is she? These are questions we need to
The human capacity for self-denial.
Self-deception.
Self-deception, self-denial, tomato.
Potato. Okay, gang. That's about all the time we have. I hope you enjoyed our discussions on Flatline and In the Forest of the Night. Next week, which is our 75th episode, and for you people on Krypton Radio, you haven't listened to 75 episodes, but you can listen to the old ones by going to mark-who42.net, and if you go to mark-who42.net and look for episode 74, you can hear a bonus feature of the news that we did at the beginning of the show that you unfortunately didn't have because we didn't have time for it here on Krypton Radio. You can also find it on iTunes. Next week, our 75th show, we're going to have Tony Way. Way cool, guys.
No, don't ever do a pun like that again. Don't ever do a pun like that again.
That's
don't
right.
Don't ever do that again.
That's right, Mark. No way.
No way.
Oh, God, no,
way.
Both of you. Both of you. What the heck, man?
He was Alf in Deep Breath, the first story of Series 8 of Doctor Who, and he was also in Ed and Trish's favorite other series, Game of Thrones. Isn't that right?
He's also in the English language version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? And we'll be discussing all that with him next week.
It's taken us 75 episodes, but, after all this talk about all the connections between Doctor Who and Game of Thrones, we finally have living proof of it.
Yeah, it's our second anniversary show, too, but I don't think we'll mention that. Yeah, it will be our second anniversary. So listen to us next time. Go to our Facebook page, MarkWho42's WHOniverse. Tweet us at MarkWho42. Look for old episodes, like I said, at MarkWho42.net. Go to iTunes, FloridaGeekScene.com, Geekcast Radio Network. We are everywhere around the web. Any last words for this episode, guys?
2 more episodes to go, and we'll see if Moffat has a grand plan to explain why Clara is so awesome.
There better be.
It better not end in a cliffhanger either, or someone's going to pay.
Knock on wood, knock on wood, knock on wood, knock on wood, knock on wood! To be continued at Christmas.
Yeah, if Moffat doesn't answer this, I will have a Tunguska Blast at his house in 2 weeks.
Oh, no. Will we have a good 76 episode? Well, we'll find out after episode 75. We'll see you, or you'll listen to us next time here on Mark Who42's Universe.
Will that blast be with or without the help of some Mexican?
We'll talk to you guys next time.
Get the Taco Bell $10.
Just don't.
Please stop. We'll see you next time. Bye. Mark Who42's WHOniverse has been written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Patricia-Helm, Eduardo-m-Freyre, and Christian-basel. This show was edited, produced, and directed by Mark Baumgarten. We can be contacted by email at mark@markwho42.net. The subject line, question mark. If you have worked on Doctor Who or are working on a project relating to Doctor Who and want to be on our radio show, please email our media relations director, Christian-basel, at markwho42media@yahoo.com. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. This show is owned and copyrighted by Mark Baumgarten, 2014. You're listening to Krypton Radio.